Isak in particular has come out quite stridently and said that promises were broken. We understand now that Johan Visser feels the same about Brentford. What does this tell us about where the power lies in football, Henry?
Oh, we think it lies a lot with the players. Look, the game is nothing without players, and obviously fans as well. But clubs, particularly when they have players under contract in three more years, particularly in Isak's case. I mean, I was at the PFA Awards gala the other night, and Salah went up on stage, collected his award, and we're all sort of applauding, but also scrolling through our phones and reading Isak's statement on Instagram, which was not quite a declaration of war, but it was quite sort of provocative. And I think, we've just been speaking about Eze, as you rightly say. He's trained, he's played, he's played when it looks like he's out the building, and you could see him when he was driving out the training ground yesterday, stopping for the Palace fans. I mean, look, players move, players are ambitious, loyalty is for fans. But I do actually like the way Eze has gone about it. Mark Gay's gone about it. Obviously, it's slightly different in terms of whether a club needs to sell or not. But they've done it with a certain amount of decorum. And I think that, coming back to your point, is the power with the players. He's still under contract. I mean, the Saudis, if they want to play hardball, they can say, right, you can sit by the time with a fishing rod and just while away the months until the World Cup comes. Interesting. Sweden have a squad announcement next week. Games against Slovenia and Kosovo, away games, World Cup qualifiers, important games. A, how fit is he going to be? And B, is he going to, where will he be? So, yeah, look, I totally understand players want to move. Look, we've all moved in our career, and it's absolutely, you're right. But if you are under contract, at least do things with a little bit of respect. And also have a word with your agent when you are negotiating contracts. Put in release clauses.
Troy Deeney said on this podcast a couple of weeks ago that it's going to be difficult for Isak to fashion a way back into the fold should Newcastle decide that they're going to keep him, Scott. Now it's about as tricky as the Seven Bridges of Connersburg, isn't it? I mean, it's almost an impossible puzzle to solve because, as Henry says, the PIF fund can just decide to put him by the banks of the Tyne and make him see out his contract. But Eddie Howe needs the money to reinvest in the squad if he's not going to be able to be used. And if he is going to be used, his head needs to be right because they do lack a little bit of cutting edge. I just wonder whether or not we're at the point of no return for him now. And because of what he's done, because of the way he's handled it, really, it almost has to go to Liverpool now.
I think then, in answer to your question, the players do have the power. And I think this is really interesting how this is going to pan out. And there's so many different layers to it because I think Liverpool are sitting in the background and waiting for Newcastle to get their ducks in a row. But as we've said, look, the richest owners in football but can't spend their money, but they don't have to sell. So they can do exactly what Henry's just been saying. So how will they be? Will they be, I'm sorry, you don't do that in the family and we're going to make sure you are going to be fishing for the next 6 months or whatever? Or do they say, do you know what, let's try and get this deal done. Let's get, I was on TalkSport the other day with Ali and Al, and Ali mentioned about Nicholas Jackson. And you know what I think about Nicholas Jackson? He's far from the finished article, but I think Eddie Howe
would... You love him, Scott, don't you? You love him.
But I think Eddie Howe would improve him and would make him more football intelligent because he's got all the attributes. So if they were able to get him, to get Johan Visser and maybe have a little bit of change left over for what a deal would be for Isak, then I think that would be a really good ending to it. But at this moment in time, I've got absolutely no idea how it's going to go. And you talk about reintegration. Look, players can still be friends with what they're doing. And you can go to the dressing room. I'd look him in the eye and say, you idiot. Why did you go down that route? But that's obviously his choice. I just think when people say, once he scores a goal, the fans are going to be back on side. It's not as simple as that. And actually, it's not as simple as just going and scoring. He's missed pre-season. He's said what he said. He said the relationships ended. Newcastle fans, like most fans, incredibly passionate. And it's all about their club. So to suddenly go and say, right, we're going to win you over, doesn't happen like that. It's not going to happen here very quickly at all. So I think for all parties, it's best to try and get the deals done that I was just saying. But, how much do Brentford want? How much do Chelsea want? Liverpool have to make that work from their end.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, look, I think you're absolutely right. What's really, I think, a real shame is the fact that he was part of the greatest triumph in the modern history of Newcastle United, and that bond that all of those players had with that public, you thought would be unbreakable, but seemingly within 6 months, that will disappear between Alexander Isak and the Toon fan. St James's Park is going to be an absolute bear pit for Newcastle against Liverpool, live on talkSPORT. Will the Isak drama motivate or distract Newcastle United, Scott Minto?
Well, again, I go back to the season preview. I'm already picking holes in my predictions. The question was, and it's a horrible question, biggest disappointment. And I thought that this Isak thing would really affect Newcastle, and Villa would win the first game. And it was between Villa and Newcastle actually as to who would be my biggest disappointment. But Newcastle at the 2, obviously that's Villa in terms of that answer. I was really impressed with how Newcastle played. They looked really solid. They looked really up for it. They could have scored very early. If they had done, I think they would have gone on to have won the game. So I think, and I look at the players that they've got, and even the players that they've brought in now with Malik Toure, and I have to wait and see when and if he's integrated into the starting 11. It's still a really good side, but of course they're missing that striker. Whether that's Isak or whether that's somebody else, or Nicholas Jackson or whoever. It's a very, very good side. So they weren't affected at the start of the season against Aston Villa. And let me tell you now, if any player is not up for this one on Monday night against Liverpool with all that's going on, he'll soon know about it. That atmosphere is going to be one of the best of the season, and we're talking match day 2.
I think I'm going to take ear defenders rather than headphones on Monday night. Ryan Gravenberch should provide a little bit more sturdiness for Liverpool, but where can Newcastle hurt them? Because they lacked a little bit of a cutting edge against Aston Villa.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Anthony Gordon obviously played through the middle, but I think when he plays on the left, I think he can give even top right backs a bit of a chasing. And it's interesting when you look at Liverpool's right back situation this season. Conor Bradley obviously is, I don't know how fit he is, but Frimpong started the other day, and Frimpong likes to push up, and it's one of the reasons why they bought him is where Mo Salah goes off to the AFCON. Frimpong presumably slots in on the right wing. But I think that gives a chance to get behind the fullbacks. Milos Kerkez, I mean, he's a fabulous player. He's in the PFA team of the season for his work at Bournemouth. But I thought that he had struggled a little bit the other day, and he can dive in. So it'd be interesting to see whether it's Alanga, whoever plays out there. I think, yeah, that defence can be got at. But I agree with you. Ryan Gravenberch suspended for the first game, sitting in front of that back 4, and he's very good at covering either side. But you look at the 2 centre-halves, who are fabulous centre-halves, Konate and Virgil van Dijk. They've not been at their best at the start of the season, hence they brought Leone in and the links, obviously, with Mark Gay. But I think Liverpool's, look, they're champions, and I understand that the interest and the support for Manchester City, and I'll board that bandwagon when necessary. But I went for Liverpool at the start of the season, possibly because I thought they might get Isak. But because of all the leaders they've got in that team, national captains like Van Dijk, Mo Salah, Szoboszlai, and players like that, because of they'll have strengthened their central midfield, which was good last season anyway. Gravenberch and McAllister both in the team of the year. But I think maybe now is the time to be playing Liverpool as the new players are settling in. If you can get behind the fullbacks, then give it a go. But totally echo Scott on what the atmosphere is going to be like. I mean, short of bringing Isak out to kick the game off in ceremonial fashion, I don't think you could have any bigger noise. War flags will have got all their banners and flags. The noise will be there early. I mean, it will just be spine-tingling. You will not be able to hear the referee's whistle.
Wouldn't it be great if there's a turn of events this weekend where Alexander Isak commits his future to Newcastle and signs his brand new contract on the centre spot just before kickoff? I mean, that would just top it off for me. Wirtz didn't set the world alight in that game against Bournemouth on Friday night, but he was very good in the Community Shield. Ekitike seems to have settled brilliantly. He looks difficult to contain. Liverpool scored 44 goals in 19 away games last season, Scott. But that Newcastle defence, will it be tougher to breach than Bournemouth's?
Yes, it will. If you look at the players that they've got obviously Cher and Byrne, who are very good Premier League players. You know, I like Dan Byrne, who's getting the very best out of himself. I like the fullbacks. You know, obviously Kieran Trippier, so experienced, and Livramento, who I believe, you know, will be going to the World Cup
I
next.
think Byrne was man of the match last week, by the way, against
Yeah,
Aston Villa. I thought he
yeah,
was absolutely terrific.
yeah. Well, you were there as well, and you sort of felt it. Honestly, I think you're right. I think Liverpool don't look quite the side that they were last season for understandable reasons. I think Gravenberch will make a difference. It's interesting, isn't it? It's playing like a 4-2-3-1. Yet last season it was like a 4-3-3, so only one holder. Just goes to show it's not about systems as such; it's about players. And Gravenberch will make that difference. You know, whether he has someone alongside him or not, it'll give him much more protection. But as Henry said, the fullbacks, I agree with him. I didn't think Kirk has had a very good debut, to be honest with you. But he is a very good player. I think the fullbacks, there's definitely a place where they can get in behind there with the pace of Newcastle. And I think players get it. And you should always try 100% with every time you go out there. But this will be 101%. You know, this will be that little bit extra with everything that's gone on. I would not be surprised, even though they haven't got that clinical goal scorer, if Newcastle go on and win this.
Be interesting to see what happens. Malik Thiaw a step closer to the starting 11. Ilanga bought in, Jacob Ramsey bought in, adding options to Eddie Howe's squad. And then you've got the Ramsdale Pope conundrum. I don't know about you, Henry, but I was just a little bit surprised after signing Aaron Ramsdale that it was Nick Pope that started last weekend. I suppose that's just a little bit of loyalty thing from Eddie Howe, because clearly the reason he's brought Ramsdale in is because he's better with his feet.
Yeah, Pope, another one who worked in a shop down Bern, another one who worked in a supermarket. It's a bit of the sort of the theme of the of
To play
the
for
day.
Newcastle, you've got to have done the hard yards, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. They love a trolley dash. Yeah, I mean, look, Ramsdale. I mean, I like Ramsdale. Obviously, he's a good goalkeeper. He showed that at Arsenal. I mean, I think David Raya obviously has been fantastic for them. A lot of Arsenal fans were a bit disappointed when Ramsdale left because they felt he'd done nothing wrong. I just think his personality will be really important. And echoing Scott's point about the players will be up for it. Ramsdale will be up for it. Whether Nick Pope starts or not, Ramsdale is absolutely that character. And this summer I covered the under-21s, and the two players there who clearly are going to go on to the World Cup, one past Newcastle, Elliot Anderson, and one present, Tino Livramento. They were both England's best players there. I just thought they were outstanding in terms of, can they step up into the September internationals for Tuchel? Yes, they can. Livramento, that pace, that ability. Scott's so right about the fullbacks. Lewis Hall, when he comes back in, another reminder of the coaching work that Eddie Howe does, making good players better. So yeah, and Trippier, obviously, you know, he's a fighter. You know what you're going to get from him. So, but I agree with you. I think that maybe at centre back, with if one or two sort of injuries, absentees, I think that has now been strengthened. I think at some point he's going to have to make a decision on who his starting goalkeeper is, because I can't believe that Ramsdale has gone there to sit on the bench for a year when there's that England number 3 position up for grabs. Nick Pope will fancy himself in that as well. So, yeah. But I just like Ramsdale's personality. I mean, the England press had a bit of a falling out with him at one point during the Qatar World Cup over some photographs, and he was in a bit of a huff about that. But that was soon smoothed over because he's such an engaging character. Fans love him. I'm sure teammates love him as well. And he's the type of player you want, not simply in your squad and in the dressing room, but personally, I think he should be starting.
Interesting, isn't it? Liverpool and Newcastle involved in some epic games, even over the course of the last year. The 3-3 in December, compelling. The cup final, absolutely superb as well, especially for Newcastle United. And New Year's Day, the year before, they were involved in a seesawing game, which finished 4-2 to Liverpool. Let's hope for another big one on Monday night. It's live on Talk Sport. I'll be there with Troy Deeney and Adrian Durham.